We are talking about one common mistake that we want to avoid as it relates to us taking steps on our personal growth journey, right? In fact, as you guys are commenting below new opportunities, let's extend on that. Create a shift. Make that comment below. Create a shift. That's what we're working towards. We're going to create a shift today, right? A shift in our mindset. We're going to think differently, right? There's an old saying that says you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it, right? What we're going to do to level up, we're going to renew our mindset. We're going to think on a bigger scale. We're going to think beyond our situations so we can expand our capabilities. Now, to begin today's conversation, if you are tuning into this broadcast, I'm assuming that your goal is to become an effective leader, right? An effective leader that is an independent thinker, that is self-motivated, that is self-reliant, and a positive contributing member in the world in which we live. Meaning you've got goals, you're goal-oriented, right? You're purpose-driven. You're aiming to connect with others in a positive way. You're looking to make a difference, not only in your world, but also in the world around you, right? Now, in order for us to do this, we have to develop certain characteristics as a leader. We have to adopt certain qualities as a leader to truly be effective, right? We've got to be focused. We have to maintain discipline. We've got to be consistent. We have to be innovative. We have to be strong. We have to be courageous, so to speak, to step into spaces that may be uncomfortable, right? But one thing that I believe we all must do in order for us to level up is that it is imperative that we must grow, right? The name of my company is Elevation is a Must, right? I've got to elevate. I've got to be better, right? I have to experience daily gradual growth, right? The ceiling that I bust through the next day is going to become the floor to my next level. And therefore, I've got to elevate to new heights. In order to do that, we have to have the willingness to grow. What many people often do, family, and I believe this is what's often getting in our way of progressing towards where we ultimately want to be in life, is that we live according to this I can't syndrome, right? I can't do this. We lead with assumptions, and we often believe that we can't do certain things. I'm reminded of a quote from Confucius when he said, "Those that say they can't and those that say they can are both usually right." Now, let me repeat that in case we missed that. Those individuals that assume that they can't do certain things, and those individuals that assume that they can do certain things, both of those individuals are right, right? I see you guys commenting below, creating a shift. To create a shift, it's important for us to understand. We talked about this briefly during last week's session. One of the rules of our mind that we unpacked during that conversation is that our mind is wired in a way that what is expected will tend to be realized. So if I expect or I assume that I can't do certain things, therefore, I'll talk myself out of doing them. If I expect or I assume that I can't handle a certain situation, right, I'll never take a bold step and execute on that idea, right? And we must break this cycle in order for us to experience more in life. Quick question. I want you to think about this for a moment, okay? How many opportunities have you missed out on simply because you assumed that you couldn't do certain things? You led with that I can't mentality. Like in your personal life, in your professional life, in your personal endeavors or ambitions, how many things have you missed out on simply because you told yourself you couldn't gain access to certain things, right? You couldn't do certain things. You couldn't earn a certain amount of money. You couldn't live a certain lifestyle. How many things have we missed out on? Simply because we have led ourselves into these assumptions and we've allowed these assumptions to become our belief system, right? And it's important for us to understand that the story that you tell yourself about yourself carries the greatest influence over your life. So if you're telling yourself this disempowering story that you can't do certain things, then ultimately that's what's going to rule and dominate your life. Because what you think about the most in your mind will eventually grow in your life. If I'm constantly telling myself, David, you can't do certain things, then I'll never be able to experience it. And here's what we have to understand, family. It's not that we can't do certain things or handle certain situations or even thrive in certain environments. That's not the challenge. But what's needed is a fundamental shift in the way that you view yourself. Comment below again, the shift. Again, it's not that you can't live a certain type of life. It's not that you can't earn a certain amount of money. It's not that you can't become financially free. It's not that you can't start your own business. It's not that you can't become healthy or prosperous in any specific space in your life. No, that's not the case. What is needed is a fundamental shift in the way that you view yourself. And I'm speaking from personal experience. This is coming from a guy family who historically, I had convinced myself that my words did not carry any value. I had told myself that nobody wanted to hear any word that I had to speak or I had to say. So when the notion or the idea came from me to become a professional speaker and to travel into spaces or conferences and share my ideas, I was extremely intimidated because I had tuned into this story that I couldn't do it. But the moment I began to challenge these thoughts, family, I begin to connect with the truth of who I am, and my story and my narrative begin to change. I want us to catch that, okay? Because when you repeat a thought in your mind over and over again without challenging it, it gains persuasive power, right? In other words, it will manipulate you into a state of isolation. It will manipulate you into a state of mediocrity, right? Simply because you never challenged this thought. You told yourself you couldn't do it, so you bought into the idea and it began to shape your belief system. Think about how this is impacting how you're showing up in your career, in your relationships, in your family, in your personal life, simply because you're being led by limiting beliefs. And you've never challenged these beliefs. But the moment in the day that you consciously decide, I'm going to do the very thing that I told myself I couldn't do, I'm going to challenge these thoughts that are convincing me that I can't do certain things. I'm going to step boldly towards these things and experience the life that I'm imagining so I can create a better reality for myself. The moment you make that decision, that's when you redefine possibilities for your life. And here's how we do it, okay? Here's the call to action as I wrap up this conversation. As we step into this week's opportunities, as we lead into this Monday, I challenge us to start becoming aware of the things that you tell yourself you can't do. Call yourself out, right? Be aware of it. In fact, this is how limiting beliefs often gain their power because they operate undetected and unnoticed. We habitually tell ourselves we can't do certain things, so we never challenge those thoughts. And therefore, again, they shape how we show up. But when you start calling them out and start investigating, why do I believe I can't do this? You start looking at the situation and say, why have I convinced myself that I'm incapable of experiencing certain things or doing certain things? This is when the change and the growth can take place, right? And that's ultimately what we want to do. For many of us, you've been operating with a fixed mindset. You are who you are. You can't grow. You can't expand yourself. You can't become better. You can't do certain things that you've never done before, right? We want to adopt a growth mindset, right? Where you have this limitless mentality and you make up your mind, hey, I may not have done it before, but I can figure this thing out. I've got to get to where I want to be. In order for me to get to where I want to be, I have to be willing to step outside of my comfort zone, and I got to lead with a growth mentality. In fact, here's what I want us to do. 2 questions that I want you to ask yourself the next time you tell yourself you can't do something. Question number 1, if you're taking notes, write this down. When you tell yourself, I could never do that, I can't earn that amount of money, I can't experience that, I can never accomplish that, ask this question. Am I telling myself I can't do this simply because I've never done it before? That's simple, right? That's simple. Because here's what's really happening, right? The way our mind is wired. Your mind is wired in a way where you reject and resist what is unfamiliar, and you always return back to what is familiar. So therefore, if there's something that you've never done before, if there's something that is unfamiliar, you reject it and you resist it. You shut it down. In many cases, instantaneously, simply because you've never done it before. You need to call this out. Am I telling myself I can't do this simply because I've never done it before? Become aware in those moments of where you're shutting down possibilities. Because when you tell yourself you can't do something, you shut your mind off to greater capabilities and greater possibilities in your life. Here's a second question I want you to ask yourself. Very powerful, very simple, but very powerful. As you tell yourself you can't do something, I want you to ask yourself, what do I need to do in order for me to become better at the task at hand? In what ways do I need to grow, right? What information do I need to acquire? What skills do I need to develop in order for me to do X, Y, Z, whatever the case may be? In other words, you remove yourself from this fixed mindset. And again, you begin to adopt a growth mentality where you make up your mind, hey, I may not be qualified for it right now, but what do I need to do to meet the qualifications, right? In what ways do I need to grow or expand myself so I can accomplish this specific task or this specific goal? You see the difference between the two of those? Instead of shutting it down, now your mind is open to possibilities and you ask yourself, what steps do I need to take in order to get there? Instead of shutting down the idea that you can never experience it, you now become strategic and you begin to solve problems that are placed before you by asking yourself, what steps do I need to take to get to that destination, right? That's the ultimate goal, family. Right? Where ultimately we want to step into every single day and we want to have the courage to expand our capabilities. In fact, I encourage us to confidently feel that there's nothing that you can't learn and no skill that you can't develop in order for you to solve the problems that stand in front of you and where you ultimately aim to be in life. And so many people make this mistake. And this is why this year looks like last year, right? 2024 looks like 2022. This is why many months, right? Somebody's April is going to look like their January simply because they're never doing anything new. And if all you're doing is the same, if all you're doing is staying in the same place, if all you're doing is doing what's comfortable, you'll never be able to experience the exciting world of greater possibilities. But to experience the exciting world of greater possibilities and new opportunities, you have to break the rules of your historical thinking. Instead of convincing yourself that you can't do it, I challenge you to convince yourself that you can. Because here's the kicker, and I'll end with this. As easily as you can tell yourself that you can't do something, you can also convince yourself that you can. It's that simple. I can do this. I'm going to figure this out. I'll take it one step at a time. I may be uncomfortable, but the byproduct of that discomfort is growth and progress. And as you grow, as you evolve, you expand your capabilities, you redefine possibilities, and you reinvent your reality. So as you're taking steps this week on your personal growth journey, again, I want you to remove that from your vocabulary. I can't do this. No. Ask yourself, have I convinced myself that I can't do it simply because I've never done it before? And then number two, in what ways do I need to improve? What areas do I need to grow? What knowledge do I need to acquire in order for me to fulfill the task at hand? And with that mindset, family, we can redefine possibilities in our life and we can level up and create new and exciting experiences on our personal growth journey. If you slid into this broadcast and I was unable to give you a shout out, be sure to comment below. And if, in fact, this is your first time or maybe your first time in a long time tuning into the broadcast, I welcome you and I want to shout you out as well. Put a number 1 in the chat and then place your first name afterward. Again, number 1 in the chat and then place your first name afterward. Wendy, am I telling myself I cannot do it simply because I've never done it before? For sure. Yes, and what steps do I need to take to get to that destination? Absolutely. The pink tub is in the building, Victoria. Yes, keep breaking the rules. The rules are there for you to break them. Rules ultimately just become limits, just like labels. Don't label yourself as a person that can't do certain things. Those labels become your limits. And here, in this community, we limitless. Remember, you are unstoppable when you decide to be. So today, I challenge you to make that conscious decision. I will be relentless. I'm going to figure this thing out. Yes, Shalia, I can do this. I'm built for this. I can make this happen. You got to speak that thing into existence and speak it with conviction. Deeply embedding yourself with confidence, knowing deep down on the inside, I can figure this thing out. It may be rough right now, but you know what? It's going to get better. I'm going to take it one step at a time. I'm going to create this thing. I'm going to build this thing from the ground up, brick by brick. Who am I talking to this morning? I got a solid foundation, and that foundation is built off of faith and self-belief. And what I believe about myself on the inside will eventually manifest itself on the outside. So I'm leading into this week with the mindset of growth. Tim Black is in the building, my brother from another mother. Salute. Hope all is well with you, King. Relentless pursuit for sure. It's scarier to never know for sure. One, it has been a while, David, but I think of you and others from Periscope. Those are some great times for sure. You're talking to me, excellent Victoria. Which reminds me, family, if you have not connected with me on other social media platforms, what are we waiting for? I'm at D1 Gibson on all platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, also known as X, and then YouTube. If you guys have yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe right now. As soon as this broadcast concludes and ends, go over to youtube.com/David Gibson and be sure to connect. How many of us have been able to catch the first 2 episodes of my documentary series on small businesses? Put Quest in the comments below. Let me know. I'm hoping that you have benefited from those amazing episodes that are breaking down the journey of small business owners, diving into the depths of them building their ideas from the ground up and ultimately their day-to-day operations as they continue to lead fulfilling and amazing missions with the work that they are doing. Yeah, Rick, we need Periscope back. I'm right there with you, King. But absolutely, it's available right now. First 2 episodes. We have another episode that will be premiered this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, exclusively on my YouTube channel. Yes, and we have Victoria. She is a part of that series in episode number 2 with the pink tub. A phenomenal and incredible and inspiring story. A young woman that took a health diagnosis, being diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, and how that was converted into a newfound mission to serve and empower cancer patients and survivors. We dive into the nuances and the details of that journey. Very inspiring, definitely. So be sure to tap in. Shout out to Victoria again right there with the pink tub. Amazing and incredible story. But again, youtube.com/David Gibson. Be sure to subscribe today. We have a new episode, Native Bread, with my sis Haley, that will be premiered this Thursday. Incredible story as well. But be sure to tap in. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when that will be premiered. But you can only catch it on YouTube. So be sure to connect and subscribe to my YouTube channel. With that being said, family, we got to wrap this thing up because you have dreams to catch and success to create. So we all got to get busy being great and take advantage of this week's opportunities. Again, with that growth mindset. You can figure this out. You can. You will. Yes, it's possible. Just because it's difficult, that don't mean it's not possible. You got to keep that in mind. It may be rough, but you got to continue to get tougher and keep moving forward to go get what has your name on it. Now, as you're taking steps and moving closer towards where you aim to be, you may be meeting some resistance. You may be met with some setbacks, some challenging times, some disappointments, some frustrating experiences, and you may be feeling some type of way right now. I need you to understand that what you're currently experiencing, what you're going through, in fact, what you are growing through, so to speak, is only temporary. As someone has highlighted earlier during today's conversation, it's only temporary. So don't make a eternal or permanent decision that's based upon a temporary feeling or a temporary circumstance. Stay true to your vision. Stay loyal to your goals. Like literally stay committed to the dream that you told yourself you were going to experience. Don't give up on what is possible. And you may be saying, well, D1, you have no idea what I'm currently up against. Like, it sounds good, very inspiring, but you really cannot relate to what it is that I'm facing right now. Now, like, listen, I want you to hear me clearly. I may not know you personally. I may not know what you're up against. I may not know what you're currently faced with. But what I do know is this: whatever stands in front of you and whatever stands behind you, it has nothing compared to the power that's at work within you. You just got to make the conscious decision to stand up with that power. Yeah, today, on this Monday, I need you to stand up with your personal power. I need you to stand up with confidence. I need the real you to show up on the scene. I need you to solve the problems that are placed before you. I need you to stop complaining about the lack of resources and learn to become resourceful. I need you to overcome that obstacle, jump over that hurdle. I need you to dig a little deeper, reach a little further, jump a little higher, and do a little more. And understand, most importantly, that you've got this. Yeah, it may be rough. It may be challenging, but you're built for this. You got to understand the power that's on work or at work, on the inside of you. Leverage that personal power and move your life forward. If nobody else tells you that they love you today, remember, D1 Gibson has nothing but love for each and every single one of you. With all of that being said, family, let's wrap this thing up. We'll be back at it next week, Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those that are tapped into the quest, we'll be live with the premiere this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But in the meantime, I encourage you and I challenge you to be effective, be successful, live with some passion, and most importantly, 3 pounds to your chest. You know what it is, family. 1, 2, 3. I want you to be powerful. Peace. Have a remarkable Monday. I'll see you all next week.
I can hear the message loud and clear. I'm gonna make it. I can see my shot is here, so now I'm gonna take it. Gotta get up, get out, time to stand up, get loud, time to rise up off the floor. And I'm stronger than ever now, can't hold me down no more. I'm waking up, 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 I'm waking up. So I'ma do it right now, yeah, I'ma do it right now.